just real quick, if I can get my point, was that a mechanism can be considered. It can be an exchange rate. We had Toller, U.S. ambassador, with the finance minister discussing mechanisms yesterday. And here they tell you that they have a mechanism for facing the economic conditions. That's going to be above and beyond, I think, a program rate. And so therefore, they've probably come up with it because of the decisions that were made from the HOR to the COM. If that's the case, then we're in a pretty dang good show, because a mechanism would be an exchange rate mechanism. It can even be interest rates. It can be lots of things. But in this particular case, it's starting to reek like they have the mechanism. And that mechanism that they have for these 3 months will be applied to the next papers, the reform papers, in my view, which will go into next year. And I believe that next year is different, because why? It's not going to be a 1-year budget. It's going to be 3 years. And so they're going to have this in place. And with all the things you see, the electronic ability to communicate, you see e-governance, you see the transparency. What is transparency? But we've all talked about this before. The new system, a blockchain system, has the transparency. Hence why you have a lot of these guys who are probably really nervous, because they'll be able to track everything. Borders, taxes, everything. Currency. It's fascinating. So,
Yep. Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. Think about it gives the country 3 months to adjust to new small category notes, possibly, our opinion, maybe, to adjust to these new mechanisms that you were just describing, Militia Man. So it gives them time to adjust and learn before the new budget begins in January of 2021. So to me, it could be a learning 3 months for them, with a new rate, with a new leadership, new businessmen, new relationships with the international markets, introduction to the secondary markets where they can get those loans. So, yeah, we're sitting in a real nice spot. Frank, I think we keep cutting you off. Did you want to say something?
Well, no, your conversation is juicy, and I wanted to continue. But if you don't mind, I'd like to ask a question. There is this theme that is impregnating the atmosphere of the Iraqi citizens, what they're hearing. They're hearing a lot more than what the articles are releasing, by the way. And there's a word that we've all seen, and they're using it a lot. The word is historical. Historical. In the translation, it comes out to historical, but it actually is a little more powerful in their language, what's going on. Do you think... oh, dear. Hold on. Let me decline this call. Someone's calling. Is it fair, gentlemen, without too much exaggeration, to say that what we're seeing just this past week is extremely historical? I've never seen a budget been given to the citizens before. You guys briefed, Petri, you talked about that tonight. I've never seen the HCL. You may say, well, I've never seen it either, Frank. You're about to, in my opinion. I've never seen Article 140. I've never seen 2 sets of books with one coming out now predominant. I've never seen the things that we're seeing. A change in the CBI. I made a post. In fact, the title of our UBTV was going to be a change in a change. A change of a lock means a change of the exchange rate. But I changed it instead to say dissolving the CBI and the GOI. Because that's exactly what's going on. As soon as Kazemi got home, he started just arresting everybody left and right. Today, post number 44 shows you what we've been telling you for almost 2 weeks now. They got a stack. They got a stack of files, and wait till they turn this over to Iraq, to Kazemi. Wait till you see what he does. The moment he does this, it's going to change things dramatically, and it did. Historically, it changed it with the Kurds. The Kurds, in my opinion, what is happening with the Kurds is the reason why we're soon to see the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar come out. Do you think that the word historical is fair, or do you think it's being exaggerated? Oh, dear me, walking stick is calling. Gentlemen, you're going to have to talk. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
I think historical is fair. because if in fact they do what we think they're going to do.
Calling you on the other phone. Bye-bye.
That's what their goals are. Interestingly enough, Patrick, you remember the article about the thing being called the milkman for the Kurdistan region?
Vaguely.
Okay. So anyway, it came to me that I was thinking, man, that's kind of an odd thing to call him. I thought it was some like one of Maliki's goons or one of the agencies that are anti-Kathini, because we've seen some anti-Kathini articles coming out. Well, I got to thinking about it. I go, wait a minute. Brand new country, new sovereign country has been reborn. That's going to be historical. And reborn. And they're calling him the milkman. Well, he's the giver of life. Those that, are born need milk. And if he's the milkman, he just brought it. Fascinating article. And I thought about it, and I go, wait a minute, that kind of makes sense. Right? It's kind of like the land of the free, milk and honey, And they use that with his terminology because what did he do? He went to D.C., and then he came to the Kurds, and they said he was the milkman. And I'm like, wow, fascinating. So I don't know if that's got any weight to it, but I thought it was something to think about. Because,
little children need milk. They can't handle meat initially. Their body can't process the proteins. But milk, obviously, they can. And that's it. I think it's a great metaphor for what he's doing with Iraq. And I think the word historical is spot on because so many things are happening that have never happened before. And quite honestly, it's something they'll probably study. Their children will study for years on what Katini has done to resurrect that country and bring them back, as you said, Militia Man, to the glory days. And I think we're about to see it. I mean, I would not be surprised. Again, this is just my opinion, and Militia Man, you're probably going to agree with me on this. I would not be surprised if the next 24 to 48 hours we see a lot of people trying to get out of the country and getting caught. I think there are people concerned about those files and what it's going to show, and the fact that they've got no support in any kind of leadership position that will support them or protect them. I think they're on their way out, and I think there are going to be people escaping and leaving and not showing up for their next appointments. I think their time is short, and that's all a good thing because you got to clean that up. And I think Katini's doing a great job. So yes, I think historical is stuff that we have never seen before. Programs and processes we've never seen before. Everything that used to be done in Iraq was done in written format. Now everything's becoming electronic, so it can be captured. It can be transparent. It can't be erased. So I think all those things are very important. So yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely historical from that perspective. So yeah, I'm really getting excited here. I mean, I'm not trying to be a Hopian person. I'm just looking at what we see in these articles and what's happening. And there's just not much left for them to do, especially if they voted this morning and all of a sudden they've got salaries available or potentially available. They had to make some changes because the Fab 4 would not allow them to take any loans. Unless they were Article 8 compliant, fully Article 8 compliant, and fully sovereign.
Yep, and that's where they have the opportunity to share that with us. I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. If they came up with the money and it's in a different mechanism, that's what we're looking for. What is that mechanism?
Yeah.
And is it something that we missed and it's still status quo? I just have a hard time believing that with a lot being replaced, of the timing of his replacement, not to mention one of his managers is taking a retirement a year early, something like that. I'm not sure if there's some good and bad for that. Did he cut a deal? all right, I'll retire, because of the currency options. Because one of those, that's a big sticking point. When they go to an electronic and a social market economy, they can't have the multi-currency practices, and therefore they're going to lose the ability to do those currency options, and that's where the honey dries up for a lot of those corrupt people, etc. Yeah. So again, if they're following the money, and they have the blessing, Kazemi has the blessing of al-Sistani. That is a big deal because al-Sistani has more clout than the Ayatollah Khomeini in the pecking order, and so that's a big deal, really big deal. And he's on the citizens' side to get the corruption and go after the money and go after the people that were killing the demonstrators and get that sorted. So by them opening up those files, getting ready to open up those files, and we see Maliki having to go to Iran, you can see the writing on the wall. So I'm in agreement with you. I would not be surprised, and I would not bet against that there are some things going to be happening. People possibly getting caught at the borders, whatever. Yeah, if there's a flight, there's going to be some news on it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I'm really curious too because we haven't heard from Frank on. Remember his comments the other night about the people in Kurdistan were waving flags, thanking President Trump, and all their excitement. We still haven't dug into what happened, and obviously I think Frank knows what happened. I'm looking forward to hearing about that, but maybe the Kurds got tipped as to what was coming, and maybe they knew what was in the white papers, because this happened just after Kassemi met with Barzani, and all of a sudden they went crazy. So there's something there to that too, and Frank made a comment just a few minutes ago that with Kurdistan, they're the ones who are going to be driving the new rate. So something's going on there that we don't know that I'm sure Frank will clue us in on when he gets back on the line. But him talking to Walking Stick is a good thing, and you just let him talk.
I'm here.
Okay,
here, and
all yours.
I just got floored. You see, normally something like this, I don't.
Can I take that in a positive way, Frank? Floored in a positive way?
Oh, yeah, there's nothing but positiveness. You see, these guys are in a hurry to get it done. And the reason why is because, well, I hope you don't. Do you mind if I talk, guys?
No, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
See, what Walking Stick just told me, and by the way, we need to pray for Walking Stick. About 3 days ago, around 4 o'clock in the morning, his kidney started to bleed out, and thank God he was awake. And his nurse that lives down the street from him rushed him to the hospital, and they were able to take care of him. But the problem is that his cavity was being filled with blood that was leaking out of his kidney. If he was asleep, he would have died in his sleep. So we would have lost him.
Oh my God.
But for what it's worth,
Thank God.
please keep praying for my friend Dennis. For Walking Stick. Alrighty, here's what's up. We want to tell you all something, but we can't. So we're letting the three entertain you, and they're doing a fantastic job. And what they did today is they salivated over the information that came out this past week. It's a lot. It is so much we can't keep up with it. And thank God that the three hit the most important parts. That 2020 budget is important, ladies and gentlemen. You look at that 2020 budget and you say, well, it's got the old rate. Well, of course it does, because the 2020 budget has a lot of loans that are being given to it right now, and they're going to give it to them at the old rate, not the new rate. Oh. You see, it's no longer what the Iraqi citizens want as far as the reforms. They got them. It's no longer what the citizens of Iraq want. It's what the international investors need in order to invest in Iraq. These investors are also loving the fact that they're seeing less and less American troops or any troops in the area that they want to or want to invest in Iraq. Iraq has its own security and stability, and the international world is knowing it because the United States is bringing it to them. Donald Trump, Kazemi talked. They're identical. I already told you this a long time ago, and you see the evidence of it now. It takes time, but what I tell you, it's been well studied. These two gentlemen, when they got together in D.C., boy, did they, masters. Stay another day, man. You got it. We got to figure this out. We did. But the thing is, how do you implement it? There's a difference between experience and practice. In other words, there's a difference between experience and practicing something. I can be really good at playing golf, but because of my health issues right now, I'm really bad out there on the golf course. I can take a brand new person to teach them to play the game of golf. They'll do pretty bad. But yet they can do very good with practice, can't they? What Iraq is doing is practicing what the United States of America is doing. Practicing every demand, every instruction from Donald Trump is being sent to Iraq. When Kazemi and Donald Trump talked this past, what was it, already a month now? Isn't that amazing how time goes by? They plotted out what they needed to do. And ladies and gentlemen, 3 months? Y'all been saying to yourselves, well, look, we got a budget. Or they got a budget. And I told you it would be an operational budget. And sure enough, about a few days later, articles came out saying those same exact words. These 3 months are where they're going to borrow money. These 3 months is where they'll borrow it at a low rate. These 3 months belong to more so to the government than it does to the citizens. The citizens are already going to get what they've got. But 3 months have to be set up for the international world to pour into Iraq. There are agreements that Donald Trump and Kazemi made. And tonight, I believe I'm actually going to be able to finally. It's been almost 2 months I've been wanting to tell you what we're going to tell you tonight. He just called. He said it's been sitting here for 2 days. I've decided that we're going to go ahead and release it tonight. So we will. And I'm going to be very pleased when we do. Gentlemen, I didn't mean to stop you in any way, shape, or form, but y'all already answered the question, right? It is historical, isn't it, what's going on?
Oh, absolutely.